Welcome to Axiom Portal Software. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up an iOS or Android device to be used as your touchscreen or your control for your system. Certain things we have started already. We've already added a AX800 to our project. We've also added 3 sources. We have a Blu-ray player, Apple TV, and a cable box. And we've also went ahead and added these sources to our source labels here in the AX800. So the first thing you do, there's 2 ways to do this. One way to do this would be to go up here to the top here and go ahead and grab an Axiom mobile Android device, or we can go over here to the templates. Under high resolution templates, we can go ahead and grab a template. When you choose a template, this will add pages for you. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to choose, just for instance, this dark page here. What happens, it opens up eventually. Yeah, opens up right here. We're going to go ahead and lock that down there. Now what we have, you'll find that we have pages that are already made up for you. They're already there. We have a CD page, a tuner page, a Blu-ray page. Now this is quite obviously the easiest way. You could use this just as is if we had these devices with little or no modification to them. But since our project's going to be a bit smaller and we want it a bit more customized, but what we can do, we can still use this template, but what we'll do, we'll eliminate pages that we are not going to use. For instance, we have an audio page here. Now, if we have multiple zones with our system, we could probably still use this page. For this, we're not going to use it because we're going to have a very small system. And our switching is going to be done pretty much through our television set. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut this. If we had lighting, we could use this page, but we're not. We're going to go ahead and cut the pages. We are probably going to leave that media page there. We are going to have cable, but we will not have satellite. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut out these satellite pages. Now, the same way we're cutting pages, you can change a page as well. For instance, we have an iPod here, but we're not going to have an iPod. But we will save this page and use it for our Apple TV perhaps. So we'll go ahead and we'll leave that there for now, and I'll show you how to make some changes to that pages later on. We're not going to have a DVD player. We do have a Blu-ray page. We're going to leave that. We're going to cut that out. We do not have a CD. We're going to cut that out. Nor a tuner. We're going to cut those out. So what we do have, though, we do have a cable. So we have a cable page, we have a Blu-ray, and we have an Apple TV. So this is going to be our home page here. One thing you see on the home page, it has all 7 sources plus a media tab on there. Now, first thing we want to do is just eliminate zones that we're not going to be using. In our case, we're going to have 4 sources here because we're going to have that TV as a source as well. I'm going to go ahead and eliminate these buttons that we don't need here. Okay, I'm simply going to highlight them. I'm just going to hit the delete button on my keypad on my computer, and that's going to delete those. Now I can go ahead and I can center these, or I can move them around and manipulate them and do anything I want. Now just because we use this template, though, that does not mean we have to keep the look of the template. For instance, I can go in if I want to and change the background of the template simply by going to here in the gallery, clicking on the drop down, go to wallpaper hires, and I'm going to go ahead and choose a high res background, which is different from the one that I have here. I'm simply going to just click on, let's pick one. Let's pick underwater. And click underwater. As you can see, it changed the background. Now, if I was going to use that on every page, of course, I'll have to go to every page, because remember, this was a template. It was set up that way originally. So I'm going to go in and just simply change and click on that and change my backgrounds there. I'm going to leave this media page here because since we're using the 800, on the front of our 800 we do have that USB, and when we plug that USB in, we want to be able to see that. So we're going to leave a media tab on here, meaning that back on my home page, I'll have to go back and add a media tab. I had one there, but I took it off, so we're just going to go ahead. What I'm going to do is just duplicate this button here. I'm going to copy and paste this button here. So what I'm going to do is go back, I'm going to right click on this button here, and I'm going to go to add a new applet, and what I'm going to add as an applet is simply going to be a media tab right here, Axiom Media Player. So now when I click that button, it's going to automatically go to this page here because I'm going to drag that page to that button. Okay, then we're going to rename that button and call it Media So now when we click on this button here, it automatically goes to this page, that media button there. Okay, so what we can do from here is go ahead and customize these pages as we want them. We're going to have a Blu-ray page, quite obviously, so we can keep the Blu-ray the way it is. One thing weird about this Blu-ray player, we don't have numbers on our Blu-ray player. So what we can do is go ahead, highlight those. I'm going to go ahead and just delete those off of that page right there. Okay, then I can manipulate this and put these a little bit closer here. And I want to make sure that all of the buttons that I have on here match what I have on my Blu-ray player. Okay, I probably do have a red, green, yellow, and blue. Maybe I don't have a disc changer, so I can go ahead and I can eliminate this button as well. Okay, now I can leave this as is, or if I don't like this, I can actually change the way this font looks as well. I can change the way these buttons look. I don't have to kind of stick like that. Once again, just because it's a template, I don't have to look like that. If I chose to, I'm going to do this temporarily. Go ahead and delete this out right here. If I wanted to, I can go to a different resolution here and grab a different set of buttons. And I'll show you what I mean. Once it loads, I click on the drop down here and say I wanted to go to golden. I can actually, instead of using that shadow, I could go and use this shadow. Just drag that right in here and drop it there. And then I could go ahead and open it up to the size that I want it to be. And go ahead and fit it in my page. Okay. Now this may not be perfect, but you can manipulate it to make it perfect. And the point being that you don't have to go with whatever the template is. You can make it look any way you want to. You can add or take away buttons as needed. So if I wanted to, I can eliminate this and maybe get one that from the area here that would even match that better. In fact, let's do that. Let's go ahead and shrink this down a little bit more, and we're going to make room for the other one. If I go ahead and I shrink that maybe to about there. How about if I eliminate this, delete that, and go ahead and replace it with one that seems to match a little bit better. So very easily, I changed a page that kind of looked like this, and I kind of made it look like this. What I use the same template though. So I could leave that like that, and that could be the way I want my pages to look from now on. Or you can have them look anyway. Let's move on to this page here. This is where our iPod was. But remember, we're going to replace this with an Apple TV. I'm going to rename this right here by doing, I'm going to go ahead and edit the text here. Edit the text. And I'm going to make that Apple TV. And the Apple TV shows up there. Now, I can use something like this if I chose to. I could go over here, grab this template right here, stretch this out. I can make this an Apple TV simply by doing a couple of things like this. Okay, I eliminate buttons that Apple TV does not have. And now it's an Apple TV. I add another button here. Maybe I'll duplicate this button. Okay, and I can go ahead and rename this button and make it a play button. Okay, now I have an Apple TV. I could do it like that. Remember though, this is custom. I could do it any way I choose to. I could do it like that just to keep the theme of this page here. So, because I want it to kind of look like the other page. But that will work as Apple TV. Apple TV requires up, down, left, right, enter, menu, and play. But I can make it look more like Apple TV, even customize it more by finding some graphics that looks like an Apple TV. And the way I'll do that, I'm going to go back to high res for this. And I'm going to go ahead and click on, I believe, metallic. Go to metallic here. I can build something that looks more like an Apple TV. And this exercise is just to show you that you can customize these. You don't have to go by the regular template. You can kind of make it look any way you want. I know it's large, but there's a trick that I'm going to do in a minute. But for now, to me, this could look more like an Apple TV type setup than the template that we used earlier. So what I do, I drag all of that in there. Now what I do, I highlight the entire thing, and then I can resize the entire thing at once. There you go. And for Apple TV, what do I need? I need 2 more buttons. Add one here. I'm going to add one here. Okay, so now we created our own Apple TV template that looks more like an Apple TV template. So you can make it look any way you want. Once again, you don't have to. Remember the original pages, they pretty much look like this. Okay, the buttons were all different. See, now we're making it our own touchscreen. So our main home page, what we want to do at this point is go ahead and name our sources to what they actually are. Okay, since we named them in the 800 here, they will automatically name themselves. But if you're not sure if those names are taken, just go ahead and click on the edit text there. If there's nothing there, that means it did not name it yet, maybe because we didn't upload it yet. But we want to have the names that we created for it, and we want the sources to fall in line. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and name this cable. And go ahead and click that. And then we're going to name our next source here. Edit, and we're going to name it Blu-ray. Okay, our next source, we're going to go ahead and name it Apple TV. Our next source, we're going to go ahead and rename that and just call it TV. Now, the reason why I have a TV button here is because I want to be able to actually manipulate my TV. Reason being, in this situation here, I'm going to do my video switching right through my TV because I'm going to use that for my video switcher. Okay, I'm going to switch my audio through here and my video through my TV. So what do I have to do that is go ahead on this TV and create a TV page. You notice I don't have a page that says TV here. So what I'm going to do is just simply add a page. Just simply call it TV. Now when you add a page, even though from the template we had a different color in the beginning, since we changed our home page, whatever that home page background is, when you add a new page, that background is going to be taken on in here. Now I would think, what would I need to actually operate the TV? Okay, what do we need for TV? We're going to need numbers for our TV. Okay, so this is how we were going to read our numbers. We're going to need a cursor group for when we hit menu. Okay, we're going to go ahead and drag that in there. If we have things like Netflix and things like that associated with our TV, we need to be able to control that stuff as well, so we can drag that in. Now, we can put this on a couple of separate pages, or we could just make it fit. And if you come to an instance like this where it simply doesn't fit, you can do this. You can go in, and remember, you can shrink the entire thing if you need to. Make it all fit. So it's kind of the sky's the limit on how you can actually make this thing look, how you can customize it, and how you can make it all work. So now you see we have totally different looking pages, just to show it can be totally custom. Now, a cable page, I've been glossing over this a little bit just to show you what we can do it. Right now we haven't done anything with it. Right now this cable page is set up for what's called a preset page. And as you can tell, if we wanted to, we can just drop presets in there. But we're not going to do that. We're going to leave it so we just have a few presets because we need to, at some point, put the rest of our pages in there, our rest of our control for our cable. We could add 2 or 3 pages for cable if we chose to, but in this case, we're going to put it all on one page. We can follow this theme, we can follow the theme that we had here, or we can follow the theme that we had here. Let's follow the theme for the Blu-ray. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to choose golden. We're going to go back to our cable page. And here we're going to add some numbers for cable. Kind of like that. Now that could be one page if I want to. I could have the numbers or preset channels that I want to go to for this. But in this case, we're going to need more to run our cable than just numbers. We're going to need a second page. I don't particularly have room. I want to make my numbers so small that I have to kind of cram the navigation on there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add another page. We're going to call this page Cable Nav for navigation. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move that up. Okay, so what do I need for my Cable Nav page? It's just some cursor. Okay, now what we have is a second page for cable. We're going to go ahead and rename the header here for that. And go ahead and Just rename that to cable. There you go. Okay, now what we have a second page. This is our first page for our cable, and this is our second page. So what we do now is just link these pages together. Since we have two pages with the same category, now when we go ahead and hit that one category here, it's only going to go to one of these pages. What we need to do is have a way for these pages to link together. So what we'll do is this. If I click on the cable page right there, these arrows back and forth here, and these can be moved around. You can kind of manipulate them to get them where you want them. But the purpose for those arrows are just for this. If I was to take this nav page right here and drop on this arrow here, meaning that when I press that arrow there, it takes me to this page. So consequently, if I push this button here, it take me back to that cable page. So I can make the other arrow, in this case, just take me home. I could do the same on this cable here. I could take this arrow here and just make it go back to the home page there. Okay, so now we have our two pages for our cable. Pretty neat. Now, if we had things like DVR built in, of course, we can make this smaller and make room for the stop, play, and other buttons that's necessary for that simply by putting them under the bottom there. But for this exercise, that's going to be good enough. Now, let's go back to our cable page. And we had before these things here, which are our presets, or in your case, favorites, if it's cable. What you do with that is this. First, you go ahead and you add icons to that. Now, we have icons that are built into the program, mainly cable icons. If you have something local, you can always go and download that logo for your local channels there. We're going to go ahead and take them and drag them, the ones that we want, right onto the buttons. Yeah, I'm just going to grab a few and drop right on my buttons here. Now, even though we have icons, they're just icons. And you can notice that because, remember, whenever you have a screw terminal on this thing, it means it's not programmed. You can tell, you can push that button. There's still no action associated with that button. So in other words, these are just icons. It has nothing to do, or it does not know where to actually go. In other words, it does not know where Cartoon Network is. It does not know what channel it is. The way you add channels to those is go ahead and add a macro. What I'm going to do is build a macro. And I'm going to call that CN for that channel. Then I actually go to the cable box itself, open it up, and whatever the number channel is for that, so say it's 45. Going to take 45, put in a macro, and then what I do with that, I go back to that cable page, take this macro that I built, and drop it right on the CN. See, now you notice it's programmed, and when I hit that button, what happens? It goes to this macro. What happens with that macro? It changes the cable box to channel 45. Okay, I'll do that one more time for another one here. We'll do CNN. So what we do? Create a macro. Going to put in CNN on here. We're going to go to our cable box. We're going to pull the numbers for CNN, 69. Okay, we're going to go ahead to our cable. Go to our macro, drag it over to the icon, and now it's programmed. Once again, we hit that button, goes to this macro. This macro goes to channel 69. Program all of these buttons. The cool thing is, you only have to do that once. In your area, well, let me rephrase that. You may have to do it for ATT-Uverse in your area, or Cox Cable, or Time Warner, whatever the cable company is in your area, or DirecTV. What you'll do in your spare time, you'll sit home, you'll grab all these icons, and you'll just put numbers on them. You put them in a library. In other words, you'll take them, and you'll just go ahead and export them to a file that's on your computer. That way, when you go to a customer's home, they want favorites, you could just go to your library and copy and paste them right onto these numbers here. That way, you don't have to create them every time. Okay? So far, we went ahead and we built our little iPad here. Only thing we really have to do, in this case, is actually program our sources here. You notice that the Apple TV here, we still have a bunch of little screw terminals, meaning that it's not actually programmed. So what we can do, we can drag it over there and drop it on there. See if it populates itself. Okay, these are not going to populate. I know because I took them and I built it myself, meaning that they won't have a class. In other words, here, there's no class. It does not know it's a navigation class at this point. Okay, so how would I actually program those? I would open up the Apple TV. I'll grab my up button and I'll drop there. I'll grab my play button. I'll drop there. I'll grab my right button, my enter button, my left button, and my down button, and my menu button. As you can see, they're populating and they're programming as I drag those things right on there. Okay, and I would do that for all my devices because now my Apple TV is ready to use. It's actually programmed. My Blu-ray player. In this case, I'm just going to grab my entire Blu-ray player and just drop it right on this page here. Any empty spot on the page, and it will automatically go ahead and populate the buttons or controls that it has. Notice how all of these no longer have screw terminals, meaning that they're actually programmed. And what we can do for the buttons that did not populate, like this button here, this button here, they may not have a function that's associated with it. Okay, and if that's the case, we can either delete these buttons off of here, or we can find other functions or double functions that we may want to use with those buttons that we don't mind. So we can make other uses for those buttons, or you can simply delete those buttons off. Now, once you do that to all of your devices there, your iPad is pretty much ready to be loaded. The last thing you need to do is this. You need to link these pages along with the actual buttons that's on here. So in other words, I'm going to go ahead and take my cable page. I'm going to drop on my cable button. So when I push that button, it goes to cable. I'm going to do the same thing for my TV button here. I'm going to do the same thing for my Blu-ray button and my Apple TV button. Okay, and how do you test this stuff? One way to test it is this. Go up here to the simulator. If I push that, it should take me to the cable page. Okay? If I remember, I have a second cable page, so it takes me there. This button should take me back home. Okay? Same with my Blu-ray. Okay? If I program these buttons, it takes me right back to where I should be. Okay? Once you get all of that working correctly, your system's ready to upload. The way you upload your iPad is fairly simple. You highlight the iPad or iPhone that you're going to be using, and you go ahead and you click the upload button here. The device must be sitting on the same network as yours. Once you open the device, it actually shows up here. You simply click on that and you click upload, and it will upload the program right to your device. That's how you would do it for an Android, an Apple tablet, iPhone, or Galaxy.